Steps were taken early on by local authorities, but as the pandemic progressed, state orders trumped local ones.
But we have been concentrating on being a resource of information and guidance.
And when the pandemic was declared in March, the Victoria School District Superintendent Quentin Shepard says he was in awe of the power of community.
And how strong we could be together when we worked together through this pandemic.
Victoria County Judge Ben Zeller says a similar sense of unity formed between local government entities.
Relationship with the city and county, our ability to work well together is stronger now than at any point previously.
But not everything has been smooth sailing.
Well, in hindsight, there's always things that can be improved upon. Early on, taking some of those warning signs, approaching them a little more proactively in hindsight.
Working to secure funding granted by the federal government through state channels have been difficult.
The dollars that were allocated to the school districts from the federal level didn't all make it to the school district. As an example, for VISD, we were able to capture about slightly more than 80% of the funding that was essentially due to us, but that remaining 20% was held by the state.
Through it all, from having to abruptly end the school year in the spring to waiting on personal protective gear to arrive, there have been victories for the Victoria School District.
The first was in our overall pivot to remote learning. 10 to 25% of students have left public education on average. You might wonder, how are things looking for VISD? We're just barely over 2%. So by a wide margin, we've outperformed the national average in keeping our students in public education. When March 1st came and we had to reorient our priorities in a hurry, obviously priority number one was safety throughout. Priority number two very quickly became let's make sure that everybody's fed so that we can take one worry off the plates of our parents. And so I'm glad we were able to do that, continuing through the summer and really even continue into this year.
Moving forward, Zeller says although everyone is tired of COVID, they are optimistic about the future.
There are things from Harvey that we saw a need to improve upon that we did in this pandemic, communication to the public. It's an exciting time here in Victoria, and I'm very optimistic about the year that lies ahead and the things we accomplished in 2020 in spite of COVID.
For the students, there is a life lesson in here that don't pay attention when folks talk about gaps in learning. You don't have any gaps in learning. You have unfinished learning. Our job is to help support you, and your job is to work with us to be successful. And don't worry about it, because we've got this.
To stay up to date, come to crossroadstoday.com. For your hometown news, I'm Carolina Astrain.